to the MMA Roadshow, episode number 175. My name is John Morgan. Cole Coffee is with me. We are in Los Angeles, California. More specifically, the very fine Sheraton Grand Los Angeles, which is serving as the host hotel for this week's event, UFC 227, Dillashaw versus Garbrandt 2.
You mean Killishaw, Dillashaw, Dollar Dollar Billishaw, y'all.
I love you, Karen Bryant. That was pretty funny. She was having some fun up there. She was feeling it up on the stage.
She was feeling it.
She
was feeling it. That was fun.
Me, though, I got to be honest with you, man. I'm not feeling it. It's been a rough week, man.
Preach it, brother. Preach it.
I guess it hasn't really been made public to the world, but it is true. And everybody deserves to hear it at some point. But Dan Stupp is no longer part of the MMA Junkie team. And this came kind of unexpectedly. Not a lot that we can share about it, of course. I mean, we're not involved in those type of decisions. But Dan and the company have made a decision to part ways. I don't even necessarily know the full details of it. But I just know the man that started MMA Junkie, the man that literally posted with the screen name MMA Junkie before we had actual bylines, is no longer part of the team anymore. And it's I don't know, it's been tough to process, man. We've known for about 24 hours, but I've been working side by side with the guy for about 12 years now, man. And
that's crazy
to process. You know, I mean, it was just me and him for a while. I mean, we had an IT guy and an advertising guy, but when it came to editorial stuff and content creation, it was just me and him.
Yeah.
And then came Steven Morocco, and then came Matt Erickson, and so on and so forth, man, and built up to the team we have today.
Just went downhill from there. Just kidding.
And built up to the team we had today. And I don't know, man, it's been tough to process. I mean, Dan truly gave me my start in this career. You know, if anybody that doesn't know, you know, I wanted to be a sports journalist. I went to school. You know, I was sports editor of my newspaper, editor of my yearbook in high school, and all that stuff. I wanted to do journalism, but I put myself through school working in restaurants, and you know, there came a time when the restaurant business was paying way more than any journalism job was going to pay. So I did that for a long time, and I got to a point at I don't know, 28, 29 years old. 28, I think. I was going through a divorce and decided I wanted to change in life. And I read a forum post on MMA Weekly of Trigg and Gorgeous George, Frank Trigg and Gorgeous George, Tag Radio. They were looking for somebody to do recaps of their interviews that they were doing on their show to be placed on MMAJunkie.com. And to be honest, I didn't even know MMA Junkie at that time, but you know, that was kind of a partnership that was starting up, and you know, I reached out to Gorgeous George Garcia online, sent him I guess a private message or a direct message, whatever it is you send on forums, and told him I'd like to do it, and that started out as an opportunity for me to do some free writing, and then the free writing came into you know, a little bit of money, and a little bit of money turned into a part-time job, and the part-time job turned into a full-time job, and within not too long after, I started full-time, and you know, it was danced up. Crazy situation, man. I grew up in Texas, and with the restaurant business, man, I moved to Oklahoma. I moved to Kentucky, all around Texas, and eventually I moved to Ohio. And when this time came, I happened to be in Dayton, Ohio at the time, and you know, Dan asked me if it was possible, you know, when he wanted to offer me a part-time job, he's like, is it possible that we meet? And I was like, well, I don't know. Where do you live? I live in Dayton, Ohio. And he's like, I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. So we were literally like an hour drive away, man. And we met at a B-Dubs of all places. Shocker.
Oh,
I
shocker.
know.
It would have been BW3s.
It would have been BW3s up in Ohio.
Yeah.
And we met there. I think we did call it BW3s because that's the Ohio.
It was still Buffalo Wild Wings and Weck.
That's right.
You know, there. Yeah.
So we went to BW3s.
Especially at that time of that year.
Yeah, it was like 2006.
Yeah.
2006, 2006 and late 2006. And met with him, and he was like, hey man, we'd love to bring you on board. And man, like the rest is history, man. There's so many things, the early days of Elite XC and Strikeforce and UFC, and covering those things with him, and dealing with the UFC at the time when they it was weird. We both had newspaper jobs, and that was the only way they would let us cover the event. We couldn't cover it as MMA Junkie because MMA Junkie wasn't big enough to be credentialed by the UFC. We were credentialed by our newspapers, and we had the PR reps basically telling us, hey man, if I come to Press Row and I see you on Press Row and you've got an MMA Junkie page open, we're kicking you off Press Row. So we'd have to be all clandestine about how we were sending stories back. And those were the days when the fight cards, man. I mean, remember that? Dark fights, dude. I mean, fights that literally didn't even get streamed online anywhere. And so you had to be in the building to do it. And so, him and I would basically, whoever was there, would have to Skype a message back to the other person to plug into the play-by-play on the post, because we weren't allowed to have the sheet open, or we were going to get kicked off of Press Row, man. So just old school days, man. And like I said, I owe a hell of a lot to Dan Stupp, man. I've paid for the house that I live in now through MMA Junkie, and I have a kid that that I support, and a wife that I support through MMA Junkie. And man, it just it's a little bit more than 24 hours since we were made aware of the decision of everyone involved. And yeah, man, still processing, dude. It's tough.
Yeah, that's crazy. I can only imagine. You've had a long history with him. I've only worked with Dan, in the short few years or whatever that I've been involved, but he's always been a great guy to deal with. And it's funny, I was not as bad as Bond, but I think it was like a year or two before I met him. Bond had the record of what you
Yeah,
said, like 3 years.
We all worked together on the internet, and Dan doesn't really like to travel much, man.
Yeah.
We sold MMA Junkie back in 2011 to USA Today, and Dan bought a nice house out in rural Tennessee, man. It's gorgeous. I had a chance to go out there once. It's beautiful, but yeah, he doesn't travel anymore, man.
Yeah.
And I always joked, it's like, if he didn't have to see another human being, dude, like that'd be
wouldn't.
just fine with him.
Yeah, it's funny to think that I didn't meet him for the longest time after I'd started, but not as long as Bond. But no, it's crazy, and you hate to think of these end of the era changes, when you hear these big names. But yeah, that wasn't the way we wanted yesterday to start, by any means. Kind of put a damper on the whole day. It was already sort of a long and draining day. It was a 7 a.m. flight into town, so it was a
4 a.m. wake up.
4 a.m. wake up, and then it was pretty much straight through, and then to get that. So at that point, pretty much all excess energy was already sapped out. So yeah, yesterday was a pretty gloomy day.
You talk about the end of an era, man. What dawned on me a little bit earlier was it really is the end of an era in kind of mixed martial arts journalism as a whole, because all the majors that you would consider I guess if you were to
at least you think guys that started these things.
That's right.
Yeah.
So the majors, you consider MMA Junkie a major, right? Well, Dan was the one that started. I mean, I was the first guy he hired, but Dan was the one that started. He's no longer around. Sherdog, obviously Jeff Sherwood, they sold, and then eventually he wasn't with the company anymore. MMA Weekly's still around, but not with the original owners. Of course, that was through tragedy. And then MMA Fighting has been bought and sold like multiple times over, and the people that are there haven't. So, yeah, man, it really is. It's kind of like the I feel like it's the end of an era, as you said, man, in more ways than one. Not just for us at MMA Junkie, but kind of like everything. It's a tough day, man. It's a tough day. Dan, for the record, I mean, I haven't had a chance to speak to him yet about the decision, and he said, hey, listen, he's going to kind of keep to himself for a while about everything, and then I imagine at some point he'll come out and address everybody, because he certainly has some long-standing ties to the community. But yeah, man, it was a tough way to get yesterday going. It was it sucks too, because I was having a good week, man. Calgary was a phenomenal show, man, and I really wanted to do a and a half episode. I had the young Mike Bond there with me. We had Danny Austin as well, but truth was, my dad and my stepmom were coming to Las Vegas the next day on business, and rather than kind of stay up and get everything recorded and all that done and be a zombie, I had to kind of be a little bit selfish and be a family man. You know, I only get to see my dad probably once or twice a year, you know, and the fact that he was coming to Las Vegas, I was like, you know what, I got to make the right decision.
I got drunk and just passed out
that's
early.
it, exactly. So I totally made the right decision. Yeah, I had to get some sleep. I wanted to rest up a little bit and get some sleep, and so that when I saw them, I could actually go have lunch and, you know, go have a nice time and have my kid. You know, it's always cool, man. My kid and my dad. I mean, I know you don't have children, but you know, when you get to have that dynamic, man, it's pretty cool. You know, those 3 generations together. It's fun, man. So I had to skip out on the and a half. Which was tough because it was a fun card, man. Dustin Poirier, Eddie Alvarez, and all the controversy that surrounded it, man. I mean,
Yeah, that was fun.
it
Fun
was
fights.
great fight, man. Jose Aldo versus Jeremy Stevens. I
Yeah.
mean, Aldo surviving the trouble, and man, I thought he was out. You know, he was up against the cage right in front of press row, and he caught a couple uppercuts, and I was like, well, you know, this fight is over. And hell no, man, he battled through it, and the big body shot to Jeremy Stevens. I mean, it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was like the body shot night.
Oh, it was, yeah, because you had the kicks earlier that did it
Yeah.
in. Alexander Hernandez, that guy is so
Yeah.
intense, man. To come back to the back and just be like, I sucked. That wasn't good enough. You're like, bro, you just beat a pretty established guy, you know, in his backyard. And Ian Cutelaba, I mean, Hakeem Dawodu, I mean, there was just there were so many good stories. Dustin Ortiz with the big head kick. I mean, there were a lot of great stuff. Man, I'll tell you one thing.
Yeah, that was a comeback one because he was kind of getting it handed to him too, so that was pretty good.
I'll tell you a funny one, man. I was sitting at customs I was leaving Calgary. You know, in Canada, the major cities in Canada, I mean, I don't know if it's every airport, but I know the major cities, obviously, you go through customs before you get to the United States. So you basically go through U.S. customs there. And, man, so I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting as they check my passport. And I guess the guy's computer wasn't pulling up very well. He said he's like, oh, I'm really sorry, it's going slow, but whatever. And I was like, yeah. And Mateus Nicolau like walked over at the booth that was basically like where I was standing in front of him, and I could see him, you know. And my guy was just kind of sitting there, and I was hanging out. So Mateus walks up, and they're like, oh, what's the purpose? He's like, oh, I fought on the card last night. He's like, oh, you fought? How'd you do? He's like, I got knocked out, you know. And the guy's like, you got knocked out? How did it happen? And I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine? Like, is there anything worse than being knocked out on national television than to have to like sit there and explain the process of how you got knocked out to the border control guy?
Yeah.
Like,
Honestly,
bro.
I don't really remember.
Yeah, and he's sitting there like kind of, you know, yeah, well, and I could see him like, well, I tried to block the kick and it hit me, and I was like, bro. Show some sensitivity, man. The dude just said he got knocked out. Like, you really got to make him explain how it happened. But yeah, man, it was a great card. And then I come home, and what have I received while I've been gone?
Oh, your little care package?
A care package from the fine folks at Coors Light.
Yeah, PBR, do you step the game
I'm
up?
about to say, I mean, here we are enjoying an award-winning PBR. I apologize to the
Most
fine
awarded
folks at Coors
American
Light.
lager in history is right here.
But they sent me a case of beer. They sent me some little swag as
Look
well.
like a hat or something?
Little hat, little T-shirts, some koozies, that sort
Wow.
of thing. A little note in there that said, "Thank you. We know you're a big supporter of the Coors Light brand.
Doing your part to keeping our lights on."
That's it. And it actually, now I don't know if they really meant this as much as they said it, but it did say, "Feel free to hit us up if you need a refill." And I kind of wanted to be like, can you just send like one a day, like
Like a case a day?
Yeah, just send like a just send like a case. Well, okay, a 12.
That's pretty bad.
A 12 a day is probably the most I'd like the average.
That's a lot.
Is that bad?
12 a day? I
Probably.
think it sounds pretty hefty.
Yeah.
Even like a 6-pack, I would think it'd like somebody'd be like, "Dude, you drink a 6-pack a day?"
That's like an appetizer.
I suppose. I'd say.
Okay, let's move on. Yeah, so I got that from Coors Light. I was feeling pretty good about myself.
That's cool.
Then we had the fantastic Contender Series event, which was a lot of fun, man. 4 guys got contracts. There's just one left.
So that's 2 shows that they've given out 4 contracts.
Yeah, man.
That's crazy.
And I don't even think you saw this because if we're watching it live, we don't get the commentary. I actually went back and watched the commentary, and it was pretty cool. As Dana was talking to Laura Sanko, he was only going to award 3 contracts. And he says, you know what? As I'm sitting here watching the highlights, You know what? We're going to take him too. I changed my mind.
Who's the last one
I
you got?
can't remember who the fourth one was. Let me see if I can remember real quick. Because he said it in a little clip. I watched it in a replay somehow.
I remember.
I think the fourth one was Jordan Griffin. If I remember, yes, the fourth one I believe was Jordan Griffin. That's the one he wasn't originally going to take, but decided to take. Because Juan Adams, of course, that dude has all kinds of personality and is huge. You know, we were sitting back there in the back.
I think it's in his favor that heavyweight needs some people.
And he's a big dude, man. His frame is huge. He said as he was sitting back there that he weighed 283 pounds. He's a big guy. He's got a hell of a lot of personality. Called out Junior Albini. Said he thought the fight would be fun. Talked about going to Taco Bell Cantina. And I mean, he was a fun dude.
Yeah.
Ian Heinisch. I think that guy was an incredible story. You know, the locked up in a Spanish prison for drug dealing, and I mean, the guy just got an incredible story. Then that knockout by elbows was crazy. Roosevelt Roberts, which is a guy I had been told by somebody going in, like, look out for this kid. He's something special. And then Jordan Griffin, who had a great performance as well. Dana just kind of made that decision on the fly, but a great card start to finish. But I gotta say, because I don't know that we were rolling or if anybody was rolling at the time, but kind of I don't want to say an embarrassing moment because it's not our fault. But you know, you again have become an official ambassador for Dana White's Contender Series because you know if anybody has seen that show by now, you know that we're at the Tough Gym and. They bring all the fighters back into that little kitchen area, and that's where we're set up as well. So in the kitchen area, and they all just sit there and wait for word. Well, one after another. Now you got 4 guys that have a contract. There's one guy left, and it's Dontel Mays, who had the TKO win as well. And he's sitting there and he's hanging out, and I guess it was like an intern or something came in, and it wasn't an intern?
No, she is.
Okay,
she's total intern.
Okay.
She's like production intern. She's the one that a lot of times when they need somebody to just do a mic check when Senko's not there.
Right.
So you'll see her testing the mics, and standing around or doing whatever.
And I don't. So I'm not trying to like embarrass or single her out. I mean, this isn't, I guess, her normal job.
Yeah, by no means.
But normally, we'll see like Heidi Dean. Heidi Dean is. If you watch the early morning weigh-ins and you ever hear somebody say 5 seconds, baby, that's Heidi Dean. Okay, you know who Heidi Dean is. Heidi Dean will usually come back and say something like, "I apologize, but it's not gonna be in the cards this time. You're not getting a UFC contract, but hopefully we'll see you again in the future."
Yeah,
something along those lines, right? Fighter obviously disappointed, but they get the clear message. They understand what's going on, and they move on. This young lady comes back. It's just poor Dontel Mays back there by himself, and just goes. Thanks. And then turns around.
And then leaves.
And he's like, well, thanks for what? Like, thanks, I need to go join the other 4 because I have my contract? Or thanks for just being a good guy?
Being a nice guy.
I don't know what's going on. So, kind of an uncomfortable situation. And Cole Coffey, being the official brand ambassador of Dana White's Contender Series, did say, hey, I think that may be all the contracts, but hold on, let's check on social media because the weird thing about it is even though we're there and we're in the back room, we can't
we don't hear it.
we don't have a feed back there. So if you're watching at home, you're finding out, more than we are as we sit back there. We're just finding as the fighters get called. So I had my computer out and I took to Twitter and obviously a lot of people are live tweeting and they say, no, you didn't get a contract. At which point I relayed to you that, no, it looks like it's just the 4. And then Cole Coffey is basically like, no, Dontel, not this time. But fantastic fight, by the way. Man, that was so bloody, and you guys were going at it. And, man, you really put it out there.
It didn't make him feel any better. The look on his face, I felt so bad for him because he was like, really? Like, they put so much. They literally bled for everybody. That was like the bloodiest match I've seen in a long time, and for it to just sort of so unceremoniously end at the night, I felt like people just forgot him because he walked through again like he was looking for his peeps or something to get on the shuttle. He still had his shirt off and he still had like a towel or something over. I'm like, is this poor dude just walking aimlessly and nobody's like helping him out? I felt so bad. I wanted to just be like, grab him like, here, let's go find your family. Come on, little kid.
Well, that's the thing is that when they don't make it, and this has happened one time before where we had to be the bearer of bad news. But the thing is, they're like, well, where do I go? And we don't really know.
Yeah,
we just know you leave the
leave
kitchen.
the room. You leave the room that we wait for the interviews. Because that's when we interview them. Because they come back in, we get the interview.
I don't know where the locker rooms are or
Yeah.
where your family is. Like it's like I don't know. You ain't got to go home. You just got to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Just can't stay here. I think they probably do go back to the. I bet they are in the original locker rooms.
Right.
And then once they're done, they seem to kind of just loiter around the room. But he probably went back to the locker room, noticed his stuff wasn't there, and then didn't notice his family wasn't around. He was probably like, all right, there's my people are somewhere.
Let me track down my people.
Let me track down my peeps, But yeah, that was it's awkward, But yeah, we got one more week, man. I hope we have some other good fights. But
I'll tell you a little nugget I learned this week about the Ultimate Fighter and Dana White's Contender Series is that the plan is by next year to have a new gym ready to go.
Yeah, you're telling them that piece of land over by the headquarters.
Yeah, it sounds like they've picked up another piece of land next to the headquarters.
It's always good to pick up a piece, you know what I'm saying?
Sounds like they're going to try to have a new Ultimate Fighter gym. So this will be the last Contender Series that's shot in the Ultimate Fighter gym. They'll have a new one ready to go by next year when it picks up again on ESPN Plus. And the Ultimate Fighter that's being filmed right now will be, now of course there's speculation that maybe it's going to be the last Ultimate Fighter ever, but at the very least it will be the last Ultimate Fighter that takes place in that gym. And yeah, man, it's we've talked about it before, but the property is just going to go away. It is weird because there's a lot if you're an MMA fan, there's a lot of history in that building, man.
Yeah.
A lot of fights have taken place. A lot of things have gone on, a lot of clashes, a lot of doors being torn down, a lot of pushes and shoves and storylines have been built there. But the truth is, it's really just a very nondescript industrial warehouse complex behind the Palms that doesn't have ample parking, that doesn't appear even the least bit attractive to for any reason. So it's
no real air conditioning, at least not a good air conditioning.
No functioning air conditioning. So yeah, I mean, it's just going to go away. I mean, I imagine if you've ever been in there and looked around, it's cool, man. They've got some they've got some cool artwork in there, and of course, with the really cool stuff is that they have the signed team jerseys of every season, which is cool, man, to go back through. And I'm sure they'll transport those over to the new gym and set it up there, But it is weird to think that the thing that's been serving for a long time, I guess another era, closing up,
coming to a close. Yeah, it's crazy because it's always fun when you see people come in, even in this Contender Series, just seeing people come in and realize where they are in terms of what that show, because the show makes it look a lot bigger than what it really is. When you walk into the space, it's not a big space, but it's always kind of neat to see the faces of these families come in and look around and say, oh, and they'll take pictures and they start pointing. And we were all kind of like that, like I think everybody's first time when you walk in there and you just like, oh my goodness, this is where so-and-so was arguing over here, and you think of all the fresh-faced Kenny Florians and all the guys from the first tough season and all the history that came through there. And it's hard to not get nostalgic in there, So it'd be a bit sad, to kind of see it, shut down because that place has a lot of character to it. But it'd be interesting if they are going to build a new place. I mean, it begs to think that they'll keep taping it. But
yeah, well, we know the Contender Series is definitely going to continue. I mean, that's part of the ESPN Plus package. So I guess there's at least 5 years of that. I don't know about the Ultimate Fighter. We'll see. So that's that was the kind of the good, the highs, and then of course we had the low of yesterday when we found out about our situation. And I guess I should say I didn't say it out there, but. Congratulations to Simon Samano. He has been promoted to managing editor. He will kind of be, running the ship, so to speak, at MMA Junkie. So, kudos to him for that move. And, so we had to continue on, man. We had to soldier on UFC 227 coverage. We had open workouts yesterday. Open workouts were a little odd because it turned into open mic night versus open workouts.
Right.
both Cody Garbrandt and Henry Cejudo elected not to work out, and they instead they basically just did a Q&A with the fans. Both are actually Ali Abdelaziz's clients. I reached out to him afterwards and said, "Hey, listen, man, is there a reason?" The first one was Garbrandt, and he didn't work out, and that's why I questioned him on that in the scrum, and I said, "Hey, man, not working out, like, what's going on, man? Or, is this a strategy? Are you trying to hide something, or hopefully physically you're okay, right? I mean, there's nothing behind." And he actually said, "No, no, no. I'm gonna put on a show on Saturday, but for now, like, I'm good." And then it was interesting. Then Cejudo came out and didn't put on a workout either, and also did a Q&A. So I texted Ali and I was like, "Hey, man, what's going on? Like, is there a reason your guys didn't work out?" And he actually hit me back and he said, "Listen, to be honest, I talked to both guys, and in my opinion, in our opinion, the fans get more out of it when the athlete communicates directly with them and does these Q&As. And the open workouts aren't really authentic workouts anyway. It's kind of a fake workout, and they've got real workouts to do later on. So, I guess I understand that to a degree. I mean, there's always been some athletes that don't work out. I mean, Dan Henderson was a guy that never worked out. He always was like, "Hey, guys, I'm not doing anything. I'll take a couple of questions." So they're not the only athletes in history to do it.
Yeah.
But it stood out because we only had 4 fighters, and two of them didn't work out. So
yeah, and the fact that the 2 champs did.
Yeah, right. That was interesting. Yeah, Demetrius Johnson and T.J. Dillashaw both did do a full workout. So that was kind of a weird night. And then we got up this morning and did the media day, and then we had another setback in our week, man. So this week, a series of tweets from 5-6 years ago came out. Cody Garbrandt, old tweets. Now, this is something that has been kind of a phenomenon in sports lately, right? I mean, this is athletes are having old tweets resurfaced,
Mm-hmm.
and the same thing happened to Cody Garbrandt. And basically, it's a bunch of tweets that feature him using the N-word. Now, this is the N-word with the A ending, not the ER ending, right? I guess so. It's more of the casual gangster rap, lyrical, hip hop
lyric version,
lyrical N-word, not "I am referring to you as I would refer to a black man in the 1860s" or whatever, right? But they did resurface. It was brought up at the open workouts, and Cody just blew it off and said, "Listen, man, that's me as a teenager. I don't even want to talk about it," right? Well, not much of an answer. So I thought today. I didn't follow up on it yesterday in the open workouts because I thought, man, group setting, there's a bunch of fans behind us. There's a ton of cameras. It might not feel right. So I said, you know what? I'm going to ask him today when we get one-on-one and just ask him, hey, man, this potentially embarrassing tweets came out. Care to explain kind of what your logic was or what happened or that sort of thing. And to be honest with you, man, all I really wanted to do was give him a platform to address it. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I certainly don't think Cody Garbrandt is a racist. I've never heard anybody say that. I just thought it would be an opportunity for him to address the situation. Maybe give the comment one time and say, I'm never talking about it again. And then if other people ask him, he can say, hey, listen, I already spoke to MMA Junkie about it. I don't feel like continuing to talk about it.
Go watch their interview.
Yeah, go watch their interview. Next question. Make sure you watch the pre-roll. I mean, I didn't. That's really was all my goal. Unfortunately, Cody got a little frustrated and said, "Hey, listen, I'm done talking about it, and I'm done with this interview." And we basically just asked one question, and that was that. I did talk to him briefly afterwards, after the session, and he said, "Listen, I was kind of surprised that by it, and I'm a little upset, and I understand maybe you didn't have any ill will, but it kind of upset me." And his manager Ali Abdelaziz, kind of voiced his frustration with this as well. And I don't know, man. It made to be honest with you, a shitty day, man. It just kind of what was already kind of a rough day became kind of even a rougher day. And I don't know, man. I had a couple tweets of people that were like, "Oh man, you piece of shit. What are you doing going after him like that?" I'm like, going after him. I actually got an email to MMA Junkie that said, if John Morgan started that shit with Cody Garbrandt and the racial slur tweet, then John is a desperate idiot that I've never seen come from MMA Junkie. It's a disgrace that you do that crap just to get a story. You're pathetic. If it's not you, then whoever it is pathetic. I'm not a huge Cody fan, but I'm so sick of media doing shit like this, and something tells me with a little digging, something from your past you wish had never happened could be surfaced. Well, I will say it doesn't take much digging to find stuff from my past I wish had never surfaced. But I don't know, man. It's tough, man. The job is as fantastic as this job is, and as amazing as it is. I guess not every day is going to be a lot of fun. And I don't know. I was bummed because I really didn't mean for it to be any kind of an attack on Cody Garbrandt. I really didn't mean for it to be any. I don't know. I guess that's just the way to say it. Like, I didn't mean for it to be an attack. I thought that I was just trying to give him an opportunity to address it, and I felt the responsibility as a journalist to ask him about it. He didn't.
Yeah, I mean, it came up. I mean, if you don't ask it, people are always going to say, why didn't somebody ask it?
Right.
There's always going to be something that somebody doesn't ask it. So, I mean, it's a legit thing. It comes up in this day and age. When something comes up, you have a responsibility to, at least try to ask about it. If not, you're always going to get blamed for playing favorites, not asking, But I think, the way you phrased it, you gave it the respect of not making it sensationalizing it, like I think a lot of people are trying to, like, oh, you're trying to grab at a story. You tried to go the proper route to give him a chance to just squash whatever stuff was going on. I mean, like, you can't ignore the fact that, I mean, it is going on. People are paying attention, and it's
Right.
making its rounds. I mean, ESPN as well was looking into this shit. I mean, like, it's not like it was like only one or two media outlets looking into it. I mean, like, it was making its rounds, so the question was going to come up, and I think, you phrasing it the way you did and giving him a chance to answer it, was the right thing to do, because it would have happened eventually.
Well, that's what I thought, and it's like, get it over with before the fight. I mean, do you want to have to hear the same question like after you win the title on Saturday night, or do you want to? I mean, no, you don't want to have to hear that, and I thought that's all I was doing was giving him a chance. And for the record, I thought his answer was pretty good. I mean, Look, I don't think there's any way to justify it, right? We know that it's not right, but he's saying, look, man, I was younger, I was a kid, where I grew up. We said that more than we did. I mean, listen, you and I are of an age. I remember when we were kids, you would say the homosexual slur of an F word, like, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
You would just say that, right? Like, to your boy, don't be a, you would say that.
Yeah.
And now we know, hey, bro, hey, that's not right. So yeah, I mean, if there was social media or if there was recordings back then, yeah, you'd probably have me on record saying that. I, hey, does it justify it? Nope, can't justify it. I'm sorry. I definitely screwed up. I have learned from that. I won't be doing it again. And I apologize, and that's it. And I thought that's what Cody said when we talked about it. I was like, listen, man, I'm going to talk about this once, and this is the only time I'm going to talk about it. Yep. I didn't mean it in a racist manner. It is, I have learned that that's not the right thing to say and do. I don't say it anymore, and let's move on. And I thought, I thought that was kind of all we were really going to get, and I don't know. It's a bum. It's not like we're in this industry to make friends. You know what I mean? That's not what we're here to do. We're here to do a job. But it just does suck when, you get involved in something like that. And again, the back-to-back days that we've had in this job, man, right? It's I'm exhausted, man. I'm ready to get UFC 227 done. I'm ready to get UFC 227 done.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. I do want to talk a lot about UFC 227, but what I thought we would do, since we've talked about some bad spots, right? Let's talk about some bright spots. How about Kevin Holland? Mm-hmm. What a personality this guy is. Stepping in on short notice to face Thiago Marreta Santos. Marreta. That's his walk-in song. I was going to start singing, but that's silly. But no, I mean, a challenge to say the least, man. And this guy is taking it on. We did have a couple of moments to speak to him today, and I just thought his enthusiasm, his personality, star quality, excitement all over it. Now, one hell of a tough assignment, man. That is one challenge coming in. But, I figured, hey, we've been talking about our down spots. Let's talk about a bright spot. Let's hear from Kevin Holland. All right, Kev. Well, welcome to the USC, right? I mean, this thing all kind of came together really quickly, right? So give me an idea what the emotion is like and how it all came together.
The emotions were really, really high, and then when it came together, I was in the middle of jiu-jitsu practice, so I was trying not to concentrate on that. I was trying to concentrate on not getting tapped out after they told me. But the emotions were high. First time I seen my some immediate family. A couple shed a couple tears, but for the most part, nah, man. I mean, that was the day of when they told me. Now it's time to go to work. Time to make some money, you know.
Did you have an idea it was possible? I mean, were you expecting this or anticipating it at all?
Man, I was expecting 228 since they were coming to DFW, and I'm stationed out of Fort Worth, Texas right now, even though I'm from California. So I was hoping to go get like 2 or 3 more wins in and then fight for 228, last-second replacement. But last-second replacement for 227, one fight sooner, so maybe I can still do 228. Everything will be great. You know what I mean? I'm liking it.
I appreciate the enthusiasm, but, hey, a very formidable guy, right? I mean, this is no cupcake entry into the UFC. So let me ask you, I mean, when they say, hey, yes, every fighter wants to be in the UFC, but they say, hey, your debut is going to be against Thiago Marreta Santos. I mean, does that give you any pause whatsoever?
Nah, I didn't even know who the guy was, to be honest with you. I was just like, yeah, whatever. I mean, we're all men here, so can't be scared of another man, right? And we're all confident because we're all fighters, so I'm a very extremely confident man in myself. So when they said Thiago Santos, I was like, who is that? My manager was like, it's the next guy you're going to knock out. And I was like, all right, let's run with it. So I got to the car, I looked him up, and I seen he knocked out, he finished Anthony Smith with the body shot, and I was like, oh, okay. I was like, I might be in trouble. And then I watched him get knocked out by David Branch, and I've always thought I can beat the snot out of David Branch. So when I seen that, I was like, oh, straight bum, I got this. I was like, I'm ready, let's go. So went home, got the tears out the way, went back to the gym the next day, had the worst sparring session of my life, and then by that night, it was all back to normal. So worked the nerves out real quick, you know. So I'm excited with it, man. I like it. It wouldn't matter if it was against number 1, number 5, or number 25. 13 just happens to work out perfectly fine.
So basically in your scouting report, he's either a world beater or he's a bum, one of the two.
Yeah, I think, you know what, last second, he's proven to be a bum. So if it's a last second fight, he's usually a bum. Last second fight, I usually get a knockout. So I like it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, Tiger's been around for a while, and you said you didn't really know who he is. Are you a guy that doesn't watch much fights other than kind of your own career?
You know what? I watch other fights, but, I mean, unless you're like top 5, I don't really think you're a threat because you ain't made it there to be in title contention yet. So, I mean, why watch a guy if he's not in title contention? If you're not top 5, I really don't have to adapt to you in no way, form, or shape. I feel like as long as I go out there and fight my fight, I'm good to go. As long as I put in the work, I do a good training camp, and I go out there and I fight, I usually win, you know. Usually when I sit at home and like, this guy's easy, that's usually when I lose. So I put the work in. You know, it's only 2 weeks, but I put the work in, so I'm excited. I'm ready.
A normal person might say, hey, man, this is a no-lose situation. You're coming in on short notice against an established guy. Bro, if you come up short, who cares? You know, they'll bring you back. You'll get another opportunity. But in speaking with you for a few minutes, I'm guessing you don't look at things that way?
No, not at all, bro. That's not the game plan. Nah, man, look. My last fight for Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series, I got like a little quick $10,000 check. I blew $2,500 on this pinky ring. I spend money quick, bro. So, you know, when it comes down to it, you got to pay your coaches, you got to pay some taxes, you got baby mama drama, you got a lot of things going on. So I'm just looking forward to going out there, man, getting a W and then backdooring and doing it again. And if I beat this guy, that means I got to go beat 12, 11, 10, and then we start talking about bigger and better fights. So I'm excited, man. Sky's the limit, but I'm trying to get the new galaxy, so I'm ready.
Welcome back to the MMA Roadshow. That was Kevin Holland. Got a severely upbeat attitude, man. I like him. Dude, I mean, listen, Marreta has had some off nights, but, dude, he is a scary individual.
He's very scary. When he is there firing on all cylinders, I would not want to be anywhere within reach of those leg kicks.
Hell no.
He's a beast.
Big, strong dude. All right, should say, listen, if you like what you're listening to, do us a favor, man. Make sure you're subscribed in iTunes, all right? Make sure you got the subscription going, and then do us a favor. Stop in there. Rate us if you can. Give us 5 stars if you can. If you want to leave us a little feedback, a little review, hey, I'd appreciate that, man. I could definitely use some positive feedback right now, man. If you want to, just hit me on Twitter, send me a DM, slide up in my DMs.
Slide up in your DMs.
I got them open, bro. You can slide up in my DMs. You know, it is what it is.
Is that a thing? Like people can. Like when you say
yes,
open?
It's a setting on Twitter. You can either make it so people you have to follow people for them to message you, or you can leave it open. I'll leave it open.
Oh, I thought that was like by default you had to like.
No, I'll leave it open.
Oh,
so you can slide up in my DMs. Now,
there you go.
If you don't like what you're hearing,
slide back out of them DMs.
Go somewhere else. I tell like Dana White, don't watch it. No, what? Don't listen to it. I don't need to hear your shit this week. I'm having a bad week, man. It's been a bad couple of days for me. Leave me alone, damn it. All right, let's get back to UFC 227. It is a very top-heavy card. There's no question about it. I am incredibly excited by the two fights in the main and co-main event, the two championship fights. I don't expect this to do very well on pay-per-view. I mean, we've seen that as a track record. The lighter weight classes don't sell that well. But, hey, that's not my job to care about how the marketing works and how much they sell. TJ Dillashaw versus Cody Garbrandt is an incredible fight. I am going back and forth on this one, man. I have been 50-50 on this fight since the beginning. TJ Dillashaw looks phenomenal this week, man. I mean, we did get to see him work out, and of course, man, the movement was there, the angles are there, everything that you expect to be there, man. He looks 110%, and man, he just seems so at ease, relaxed, happy, content. You know what I mean? It's phenomenal stuff. Meanwhile, Cody Garbrandt, it's different. We didn't get to see him, and I hated that because, man, when he's on point and firing, dude, his hand speed is ridiculous, and it would be nice to kind of get that comparison and to kind of to watch it up close and to kind of put the two side by side, I guess. But Cody does seem to be in a very good place as well, other than with us. But he does seem to be saying, listen, I'm not here to worry about all these mind games. I'm not here to worry about all this trash talking. I'm not worried about the rivalry. I'm worried about getting my belt back. And, he puts a lot into the fact that his back was bad. It was not 100%. We shared some details. He said, listen, I'm not trying to make an excuse. But I was not even close to 100% in that last fight. And, probably shouldn't have even been fighting. And yet, here we go. I did it anyway and had some success. I mean, if that first round goes longer in that first meeting, if he has 15 more seconds, there's a possibility he finishes off TJ Dillashaw. I mean, Dillashaw was wobbled heading back to the stool. Of course, then we know what Dillashaw came out and did in the second round and finished him. And then that iconic moment of this being, nose to nose for that picture. Pretty phenomenal. So I don't know, man. I my official pick, I lean towards Cody Garbrandt. Man, he's got that power. He's got just again that tremendous hand speed. He did have him rocked, and he's insisting he's going to be a different person this time around at 100%. But goddamn, TJ Dillashaw has so many tools, at his disposal. I think he does have more ways to win. I think that's one thing that's been getting to me. He's got the kicks. It's not just about the boxing. He's got the kicks. Mm-hmm. He put on some slick little grappling as well, and he's been bragging about how his jiu-jitsu has progressed. I don't know, man. I'm expecting a tremendous fight, and the thing is, the rivalry between these two does make it all the sweeter, but I don't even think you need that. It's just a great fight.
Yeah, it really is. And both of them now are fathers, so they have a family to fight for, so they have a little bit more to fight for this fight. There's definitely a lot of pride on the line. Cody wants to get that back. There was a lot of, when it went into that last fight, there was a lot of shit talking taking place for what had happened or didn't happen in the gym, and they wanted to settle it. Both of them rocked each other in that first fight, and then when it actually went down and Cody was able, when TJ was able to knock him down and finish him, there was so much release in that yell that he let out, afterwards, that I think in turn Cody has taken that to sort of internalize what he wants to pay back, and I don't know. Watching the two open workouts usually always gives me a good sign into where their heads are at this point in fight week, and we really see that, most of these guys are in great physical shape. It's never really too much of a physicality unless there's an injury or something that we don't know about that's going in. And not getting to see Cody, but just watching him move around, he doesn't look like there's any nagging injuries,
right.
Nothing that we can see on the immediate surface. So we have to take that out and say, okay, both these guys look like they're going in healthy and they're going in ready to go. But the fact that TJ went on and put a good workout, had good movement, there were times he was definitely showing that he was getting tired because he wasn't going full on, but he was going pretty decent, but you could tell that he was tired. And it made me think that he'd been getting some pretty hard workouts, and that probably we're seeing the weight cut. Anytime these guys get a weight cut, they're not going to be in their just normal going to the gym mode that we tend to see sometimes. But he looked sharp. The feet looked good. And that being said, while he was tired and do it, he was still displaying good movement, good hands. He looked like he was having a lot of fun up there, and that goes a long way when you think of where a guy's mindset, I think, going into a big, huge rematch, and especially for a title, and seeing Cody not do that and then having to deal with all this extra stuff going. He just seems a bit more distracted this time around, and I don't know if it's a matter of distracted or if he's being led astray, and his fight mind is off because he's maybe doing a lot of different other promotions that he didn't have to do before. He's doing very well for himself, and I'm very happy for him that he's able to get these sponsorships and be able to do all this other stuff. But I think it's taken a lot of his time too. So I hope he's coming in ready to go. As an Ohio guy, it's tough that anytime I pick against an Ohio guy, I always feel bad, and if I'm wrong, then I feel that, hey, I'll take one on the chin and be that dickhead that went against Ohio guy, and the Ohio guy won, So I'll be happy for him in that aspect because, I honestly like both of these guys. I think they're both really, really nice guys. And what tends to happen all too often in this sport, is you really want both guys to win because, especially in this case, you understand they both have families, they both have young kids, and they have families needing them. When you're the way that the UFC and their messed up pay structure, you're taking half of their potential wages in this one evening if you don't win.
It's hard.
So both guys are going to come out there and trying to do it. But I want in a sense like what happened the first one. They went at it. They didn't dance around too much. They weren't at the point of where they were, so respectful of the power that I'm not going to go near you and we're just going to move around. Like, they went for it, and I want some more of that. Unfortunately, that'll make for a shorter main event, but they both show that they have chins. They could take hits. I think by TJ showing us being able to work out and do that sort of thing, I'm leaning on the side that he, in my mind, just because I've seen it, is in better physical condition at this particular point because I haven't seen Cody work out, and that's just the unfortunate part of not being able to see him. Doesn't mean he's not in every bit as good shape or better than what TJ is. I just don't have a reference. I'm just going back on memory. So I'm, hoping that it's going to be there. I'm hoping everything's good. They said he was going to work out later that night, and that's why he didn't work out. So I'm not going to hold that against him, but I can only go off what's I've seen physically, with my eyes, and so I'm leaning the fact that I think TJ, again, like you hear a lot of people say, I think he's got a lot of tools. I think the fact that he's able to work the legs and the kicks a little more, that he was working a couple slick combinations in that open workout. I like it when things like that happen because then they kind of clue you in. You're like, whoa, what was that combination? Like, that was really neat. Like, wow, he could catch somebody with it. Then you're like, okay, now I'm getting excited. So I just think he's got a little bit more weapons. I agree with people that Cody overall has more power in his hands, and if he gets a couple good solid shots on TJ, he will put TJ down. I just think if TJ can kind of keep those wheels moving, he can absorb that one shot. And if he has enough legs and enough fitness, he can get his wits back about him. And that's what happened in the first one. So it'd be interesting to see. But, my initial lean is leaning towards TJ. And with the fight week of what we've seen so far, that kind of solidifies that is the right pick in this instance. But,
it's a good fight.
It's a good fight, and it really could go either way. And I wouldn't be let down either way.
It's a good fight.
Be let down.
So something interesting is both T.J. Dillashaw and Cody Garbrandt said, "Listen, if I'm victorious here, I wouldn't mind going down to 125 pounds." Both of them said they could make 125, and they'd like to go down and challenge Demetrious Johnson. Now, of course, Demetrious Johnson still has Henry Cejudo in front of him, but it's at this point, Demetrious Johnson's career, right or wrong, it's become almost an assumption that whoever's in front of him is going to get beat. and he's still going to be there. I can't see Dillashaw or Garbrandt trying to make the 125 cut to face Henry Cejudo. Should Henry Cejudo pull off the big upset, I don't think that would be enticing to the world, right? And I think even Cejudo himself told us, dude, if I beat Demetrius, like, I'll probably have to beat him again. It'll probably have to get a rematch. He's been so dominant of a champion, he'll probably get another go at it. And I just don't really see a reason. But I did find it interesting that both guys said they'd be willing to go down to 125 and face Demetrius Johnson. Again, DJ does have Henry Cejudo. Man, I am very high on Henry Cejudo. I really am. I always have been, and I remain high on Henry Cejudo. I believe Henry Cejudo and Kyoji Horiguchi are the two lightweights that I've always felt had the best possibility of beating Demetrius Johnson. Joseph Benavidez right there as well. But, I don't know if he'll get that third opportunity. But I thought Cejudo and Horiguchi, if he could come back now that he's more seasoned, have the potential tools to beat Demetrius Johnson. Now, does that mean I'm picking them over him? Well, no. I mean, Demetrius Johnson is to me, the GOAT. At worst, he's, second or third best all time. I mean, depending on how you want to make the argument. But truly cannot, he is one guy that can't be left out of any greatest of all time discussion. He has to be there. Cejudo, again, we didn't get to see Cejudo working out. But, and of course, we haven't seen him weigh in. We'll see that in the morning, as we always do. We record this on Thursday nights. Henry's in the middle of his weight cut. But, I mean, Cejudo's the wrestling. He has a gold medal. I mean, you don't need to talk about that. His striking, not only is it getting better, but it's evolving as well. But picking against Demetrius Johnson is pretty damn tough.
Yeah. It's so tough. Henry, I think, every time you think about the fact that this is an Olympic-level athlete, you have to give him the utmost respect. And the fact that when these guys first met, Henry was coming in primarily as being a wrestler that had shown glimpses of good hands.
Right.
Now it's a guy that's got more fights under his belt. He's gotten, almost 2 more years of MMA training since it's happened. And, he has that focus. And I love the fact that when he brought up in the open workout scrums, or maybe it was during his QA when he wasn't working out, that he had a chip on his shoulder.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing, is an Olympic-level athlete with that determination and that dedication, and then having a chip on his shoulder, because he does that other stuff just by his own sheer determination. But then to actually have an extra incentive to keep pushing him forward, it's impressive. But, man, I just haven't seen anybody. I still think it's going to be another maybe couple years before we really start, I think, worrying about DJ, or unless
because
something
he starts to fade a little.
That's it. That's the thing. We need, for DJ to lose, it needs to be a degraded DJ.
We're not looking for the up and comer that is on the DJ level. We're looking for DJ to
slide. When DJ's starting to slide, that's when it is. When he stops pushing himself, he's had such a great work ethic of always trying to challenge himself and push himself forward. He probably could have been, if the right sport was around, he probably could have been an Olympian. If there was an MMA in the Olympics or something along those lines, I would see him doing that. I think he has the determination and the dedication that it takes to make it to that level, because we see it. We see what he does, and the way he pushes himself, and he's always getting better. You can't catch up right there, because he's still pushing forward while everybody else. So you're pushing really hard, but hey, so's this guy. So he's maintaining the lead. Mm-hmm. But once that body starts going, and whether it's starting to get harder to maintain that weight level, and his body starts shifting, or stuff just starts falling apart, like as we get older, shit just starts breaking down. And even if you are an elite level athlete, you're stretching and you're really working your joints and your bones and your everything, that it's quite possibility that something could start breaking down. And if that starts to happen, then you have the chance of now these athletes that were slightly behind, that have youth on their side, they have better joints and limbs and stuff coming up, and then they've been training for, ages and ages themselves. Somebody's going to start closing that gap, and that's the point where when we need to worry about it. And right now, I just don't feel I don't feel that we're in that stage right now. DJ hasn't shown it, and the only other way I think it would be is if he slips up. He's been coming out, acting the part more, talking the part more, but he finds a way to uber focus and just sharpen it down on fight night, and he hasn't lost focus. He hasn't made a mistake that he couldn't return from.
Right.
And that's the only other thing. Besides a degraded DJ, it's a DJ that somehow is out of his mind and loses focus. But we've never seen that before because, as we've seen, anybody can make a mistake,
he's mentally strong,
and just lose focus, and they get caught. They make a mistake, and the opponent makes him pay for it. DJ doesn't usually make those big mistakes, So unless something happens and he gets so caught up in these things, like when Ronda lost, there were things about that week that just felt off, like the personality, everything that was just kind of coming out. Just felt off. So I think
some of the interviews.
So now, when we see DJ sometimes, get out a little bit, I think we're not seeing a DJ that's going out of his mind. We're just seeing a DJ that's changing his personality. He's embracing more because before he would never open up. He would never say anything. Now he's fully embraced it.
We're still just seeing bits and pieces of it,
well,
though.
True.
He is a different guy off camera.
True.
And I wish fans could see that a little bit more. But, I think that might make him a little bit more marketable. I think if people saw how kind of relaxed and laid back he is. But we are seeing bits and pieces of it, man. We're seeing bits and pieces of it. And I love the fact that, he is being a little more sharp in his answers, hey, I don't even care anymore. Like, why are you asking that? Like, he's making fun of people the other day. Like, listen to this guy's question. You guys can all learn something. It was funny. I do want to ask you, because Demetrius has come out this week, and it's the first time I think I've really heard him just say, I don't care about a 135 super fight anymore. I don't care. He's thrown the number out there. Yeah, for $2 million, I'll go do it. I think Dana's made it clear, like, bro, you're not getting $2 million for it. And Demetrius just kind of said, look, I'm not interested in 135. And it's weird because on the one hand, like, I've always thought he doesn't need to go to 135. Like, I think there would be something cool about setting some completely untouchable record. What if he does get 20 title defenses in a row? Can you imagine that? 20 title defenses? That's going to be shit you're talking to your grandkids about when they're like, wait, this dude defended a belt 20 times in a row, and you're like, yeah, it was amazing. I've never seen nothing like. Or it'd be more like, yeah. I don't. Your voice doesn't go that high when you get on, right? But I was trying to do like the old, but you know what I mean?
The
Like,
old dude from
from Family Guy. But no, I mean,
that DJ, he was something.
That's amazing. But it's gonna be something special. I do think there's something cool.
That's the shit that will live forever,
More,
or at least it seems
more than a super fight. Because now you'd be, you'd be the third champ. You wouldn't even be the first. You wouldn't be the second. You'd be the third champ. You'd be the sixth guy now in UFC history to win in 2 weight classes. So it's not as special anymore to do it. And I don't. Let's say Dillashaw wins. Does Dillashaw DJ?
Dillashaw, dollar Dillashaw.
Does it? I can't talk over that. I love you, Karen Bryant. At 135 pounds, does DJ TJ at 135 do anything like money wise? I don't think so. I think we're in the same situation we are this week right now. Where nobody's expecting good financial results. So to be honest with you, man, if Demetrius can win 20 in a row, do it, man. Dude, like 20 title defenses in a row would be crazy. It was funny when we got to talk to him the other day, and it was, as Danny Austin likes to point out, it was his question that set everything off. But he said, do you want Horiguchi back? And it set DJ on this path of, what I would really like to do? I would like to go to Risen and win their title, and go to One and win their title, and go to all these other organizations and take their title home, and then my trophy case at home would have belts from all over the world instead of just this one belt over and over and over and over. And he painted this beautiful picture. And if you watch the scrum, I'm like, okay, yeah, but that's not going to happen. So can we? But it would be cool though if they could figure out some way to do that.
And that's why that'll be the last interview you ever do with
exactly
him.
Demetrius Johnson. If the UFC ever did that, hey, we're going to license our guy out. If there was ever a guy you felt you could loan out, it might be DJ, because I don't see anybody in the world beating him right now. But we know that's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
All right, let's talk about the rest of the main card. Hinata Moicano versus Cub Swanson. We had a chance to talk to Cub Swanson earlier this week. Life as a family man. He's got a growing family. Turns out there's a possibility his twins that are due might be born on the same day as his first child.
As his first one, yeah.
Which would be, he said that would be pretty amazing, because then I could just have one birthday every year.
One big party.
I think that would be great. going against Renato Moicano, who's a tough guy and is a big guy, man. They stood face to face today. Not a lot of people know Renato Moicano, but he's put together a nice record in the UFC. Cub Swanson, a guy that's been around forever, you know. It was funny, you know. I did talked with the Submission Radio boys earlier this week from down in Australia, and they had a question, and you know,
you can't.
Right after they said that, they asked the question. They were like, you know, what is Cub Swanson's legacy? And I thought that was a great question. You know, like, it is hard, right? I mean, he's a guy that's been around forever. He's fought in the WC, he's fought in the UFC. I mean, he's been relevant for a long time, but never won the big fight. You know, I don't think he's a UFC Hall of Famer, but he's also not somebody I would say like that should just fade into the background over the course of history. I mean, he's somebody that matters.
That's why they should have a popular ballot vote, like a People's Choice, like award each year, where you know, because you're right. I think there's going to be guys that don't ever, if it means that you need to have a belt, or you have this fight that you know is the end all be all. You know, since we see fights get in.
Right.
I would love for them to have a People's Choice. You know, if it fits within, if they have to set some sort of a guideline, the guy has to be retired, you know, just like the other ones, it has to be retired fighter, but let the fans pick, you know, maybe even if you have a few, you know, that you want to suggest and give options, like say if it was, you know, say there's Cowboy and Cub and, you know, like a Diego Sanchez or something, you know, after they've retired, you know, and let the people pick. Doesn't mean like they only get one time at it, but I would love if they open up something like that because, you know, there's a lot of these people that on the sheer merits of you need to either have like this title and do whatever. A lot of these people are never going to make it there, you know, and I would love to see an avenue where the people that actually love and respect the sport could actually have a say into who is going to get in this Hall of Fame, which is what is meant for the fans.
I guess, you know if you're looking for, I was going to say if you're looking for a back door, but we all know that you're always doing that.
Yeah.
No, but if you're looking for a way for Cub Swanson to get in, the fight with Doo Ho Choi probably deserves the UFC Hall of Fame at some point, right? I mean, that was a very recent fight. I mean, I think that was 2016, so it's too soon for it to get in. But I mean, at some point. That was one. It was a
great fight.
Great fight, man, and
just
the iconic imagery at the end. You know what I mean?
We're starting to get a decent amount of some of those big bangers. You know, so you start to wonder what's going to be in the competition, like who's going to be in that lineup. At some point, you're gonna have like 2 or 3 fights where you're like, wow, either one, could do it. You know, and then you hope that the other one eventually would get it. But I mean, I do like that. I mean. He's always been a favorite of mine. You know, he's always been a good guy. He's always been very gracious with his time during fight weeks and stuff.
Well-spoken. And he doesn't necessarily love media. You know, he's kind of joking like, hey, your favorite part of fight week. You know, he hates it, but he does it, man. He's so great at it.
And it's fucking that Killer Cub brand, man. Those logos.
That is a dope logo, man.
Dude, he's got great shit, man. He's got great little gear stuff, man.
That Killer Cub logo is sharp.
Yeah,
it's sharp. J.J. Aldrich versus Polyana Viana. J.J. Aldrich, you know, an up-and-comer out of Colorado, training alongside Rose Namajunas. Polyana Viana, the Brazilian that just has one fight in the UFC so far. As you certainly noted today, now, granted, Polyana had heels on, but there is a big size difference between these two fighters. Polyana is actually a big favorite, according to the odds makers, or at least was the last time I checked out. But J.J. Aldrich, man, there's something about her, man. She's got some grit. You know, she's not the most physically intimidating person you'd ever run across. That's for sure. I mean, if you saw her in a bar or something, you wouldn't worry too much that if things go down, she was going to be one getting in the middle of it. But I've been impressed with her grit, man. I've been impressed with kind of her durability and her confidence that seems to be gaining as she goes. I think this is fair enough. The one fight that I think people are like, why is this on the main card of the pay-per-view? But, you know, to her credit, JJ today told us, you know, I'm going to show you why. You know, this is my opportunity, and I see it. And, man, not too many better people to be working with to have mental strength and understand the awareness than to be working with Rose Namajunas. And I thought it was so hilarious because we kind of touched a little bit upon, you know, what are you fighting for, JJ? I mean, knowing that your teammate is the champion and looks to be starting a good run. What are you doing? I mean, are you fighting to try to get a title shot or whatever? And she said, look, when my time comes, my time comes. But she said that Pat Barry said that after this fight, if she wins, she should call out Rose just as kind of a funny joke, to be like, Rose, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, that would be funny. That should be a good one. I mean, some good fighters. I mean, but Viana, man, her submission skills are just sick, and I think with the size difference, that really, really puts a damper on the fact that JJ is going to have to overcome. She's going to want to get in there and strike, but you want to get in there and strike against somebody that's got longer limbs, and once they grab you, who has a bigger frame. I'm interested to see what Viana bulks up to, after the weight cut. But I mean, she's got 6 submissions. She's like a bazillion-time jiu-jitsu champion. I mean, that's tough. So, I mean, not to say that JJ doesn't have, good submission defense and things, but it's a different level when somebody's a world champion.
We talked to our good friend Alex Davis, who's a part of the Polyana Viana team, and said that, and I'll have to talk to him more in the future. Again, this has been kind of a rough week, but comes from the southern Amazon region, basically out in the middle of nowhere, man. So
she used to wrestle pumas and wildcats. And
it's like the Habib Nurmagomedov of Brazil. All right, we talked about Holland, Thiago Maheta Santos. Look, the class of the FX, pay attention, FX preliminary card, not FS1 this time. It'll be on FX. That Brett Johns-Pedro Munoz fight, that's the fight that stands out to me on that FX section of the card. Brett Johns, man, I love his honesty, man. He said, listen, that the fight against Aljamain Sterling back in April, my first professional loss. He's like, dude, I was just feeling flat that night. I don't know what it was. The preparation was good. Everything was good. And I just knew from the beginning I was off, but I wasn't ever going to give up. I kept grinding, and I took some pride in the fact that, I kept going until the very end. Meanwhile, against Pedro Munoz, who has had kind of a rough start to 2018, he missed weight early on. There were all those issues that happened in that fight down in Brazil. You remember that was when the hotel ran out of hot water, and there was no access to spas. I mean, it was kind of a weird deal. Then they rescheduled the fight. He ends up losing a hard-fought split decision to John Dodson, who, come on, man, Dodson's one of the best in the game in those lighter weight classes. None at all. So I mean, 2 guys. It is interesting now. Pedro Munoz is kind of the veteran, where he's always kind of been the prospect. Brett Johns is the prospect, but to me, that's the class fight of the FX prelims.
Yeah, that should be a good one. And then you got Matt Sales.
Yeah, and I do like Shayman Moraes. That's a good fight too.
That's a good fight. That's a big step up because Moraes is a beast. I think the level of competition of what he, Matt was fighting on the Contender Series, while is good, like this is a big step up in competition. But that should be really, really good.
That's very much similar to a Kevin Holland fight, where it's welcome to the UFC, my friend.
This is what you wanted?
You wanted to be a UFC fighter? Go fight that guy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the Fight Pass prelims, I do think the fight there to watch is Alex Perez versus Jose Shorty Torres.
Yeah,
Alex Perez, a man of few words, is not it doesn't ramble on very much when you interview him. We did talk to him earlier this week, but pretty cool to think a year ago he wasn't in the UFC, was thinking about retiring even, was thinking, maybe my life as a professional fighter has kind of run its course. And then got a spot on the Contender Series. That earned him a spot in the UFC. He's picked up a couple of wins. And now he's fighting Jose Shorty Torres, who's been a super prospect forever. This incredible amateur career. Did pick up a win in his UFC debut. Was not a particularly easy fight for him. He was having a rough go of it, and then was able to get the wild slam takedown knockout. So I think that's a big fight on the prelims. Danielle Taylor just happens to be a fighter that I love watching fight.
Yeah, that should be a fun one too. And I mean, I'm interested to see Zhang, how she looks coming in. So that's a good one. Yeah, China representing on the Fight Pass prelims.
I know. And then listen, Marlon Cheeto Vera. I ran into Cheeto. Of course, I'm a huge Cheeto fan, man. He's
a good dude.
He is a great dude. I saw him today, and it was funny. He got on the elevator at the same time I did, and it had to do a double take. He's completely clean shaven. So he doesn't have the.
I wouldn't recognize him.
I'm telling you, man. I was like, you see somebody and you kind of want to get into hey, what's up? But then I'm like, what's up? But I'm like, that is
Do I know you?
That is you, right? So I kind of gave him a little head nod because I was like, I definitely know who that guy is, but he didn't have any facial hair. And I was like, I definitely know who that guy is.
That's hilarious.
So I gave him the what's up, and then he stepped in the elevator and he just said like, hey, and I was like, oh shit, it is you, Cheeto. And I gave him the a little bro hug or whatever because I love him, man. He's just such a great spirit, man, a good dude. And I asked him, I was like, bro, you're looking sharp with the clean shave. He's like, wow, man. He's like, it was short. It was a short notice fight, and he's like, I didn't have my mustache growing out very well at the time, and he's like, I didn't have time for it to fill in, so I just had to shave everything off.
I wonder why he shaved it in the first place.
I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things that in between fights he just gets rid of it.
Or just like does it for a fight camp.
Yeah.
Starts at the beginning of fight camp or something.
So the mustache will not be there. Crazy. Listen, should say too. I mean, again, it's always Thursday night when we do this, so a lot of you by the time you listen to this, maybe it'll have already happened. But there is a big press conference happening tomorrow. We found out about that earlier.
But you heard it here first.
You're damn right you did. A big press conference. I will say, I think the thing that everybody is waiting for is, are we going to hear Khabib versus Conor?
Khabib.
Originally, I had heard that listen, everything that I've heard is that the fight is on track for October 6th in Las Vegas. It will be the main event at T-Mobile. That is what I'm hearing. What I have not heard is that it's signed and done and will be announced tomorrow. I've heard conflicting reports. I mean, I've heard some people say that they're not even here, and I should say the PFL is going on right now, and I think Khabib is actually at the PFL right now. Not that those two gentlemen can't afford to fly from New York to LA in the morning on a very fast private jet.
Yeah.
But I don't. What I'm hearing is we're not going to get the announcement that we're all waiting for. We're going to get some announcements. We're going to have some fights. We're going to have a lot going on, but we're not getting the big one, at least yet.
Nothing's close to finalized?
Let me qualify all that by saying it could be some people trying to give me the smoke screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you're like, I think he's telling me the truth, but I'm not sure if he is or not. But if I was a betting man, I'd say we're not getting it tomorrow.
Well, then I'll go opposite. I'll say we're getting it then.
All right, well, there you go.
I'll bet you one of the PBRs in the fridge, if there's some left.
Not many, if any. All right. Well, listen. Yeah, that's what's going on in LA. It's been kind of a rough week.
Yeah.
Pour one out for the homie. I don't even know what else to say. It's been rough.
Yeah, you just brought it back down again.
Between that,
it's been.
I know. We got excited. We started talking about fights, and it got kind of exciting.
And then you
again.
made it real
good.
again.
And then you made it real. I don't know. Do we have like some Green Day teed up to play off?
Why Green Day?
What's the? This the boarding point. There's a pork stuck in the road.
Keep going. I'm not quite sure I know what song it is. Keep going.
Is there the question of the heritage of life? And what is worth? It was worth all the time. It's something unpredictable that in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.
Yeah, I never heard of that one.
Thanks for listening.